Before we get into the video, could everyone please subscribe to my channel? Thank you so much. 3 years after the wedding, Nicholas's friend teased him. What does it feel like to be married to a disabled person? Nicholas's eyes held a trace of disdain as he replied coldly. It feels like holding a black garbage bag that you can never get rid of. I sat in my wheelchair, gripping the thin diagnosis report tightly, and turned to leave. A month later, I died in Sydney. As for Nicholas, he completely broke down after reading my diary. When the diagnosis came, I was sitting in my wheelchair, patiently waiting for the nurse. Today marked the 3rd anniversary of my marriage to Nicholas. 3 years ago, I pushed Nicholas out of the way of a speeding truck, but I was caught in its wheels and lost my legs. I told Nicholas that he didn't need to feel pity or guilt for me, and I certainly didn't need to repay him with self-sacrifice. Yet, he didn't leave and insisted on taking care of me, proposing to me 6 months later. The grand proposal video was posted online with the blessings of his family. We walked into the hall of marriage, but gradually he seemed to change into a different person. He rarely returned to our home, and even at necessary company dinners, he only appeared with his secretary. We argued about this, but Nicholas said, "Emily, don't forget you're disabled." Looking at the empty pant leg, the argument ended in my silence. After that day, Nicholas never appeared in front of me again. The nurse, watching me in the sunlight, handed me the diagnosis report with red eyes. Gastric cancer, late stage. I took out my phone and hesitated for a long time before deciding to call Nicholas. No one answered. The early autumn sun was warm, but I was not. After returning to the villa, I received a message from Sophia. She had never liked me. Even on the day of our wedding, she pointed at my legs and said, "If you hadn't pushed my brother, you'd never have married into our family." Nicholas's family was the wealthiest in City A, and no one opposed her words. I even saw approving glances from those at the banquet. Nicholas reprimanded Sophia, but she angrily mentioned that Nicholas had a first love. Nicholas explained to me afterward that it was just a classmate from university, and he was only helping her. Until last month, when Emma returned to the country and became his secretary, I felt a bit jealous and questioned him. He explained, "Emma couldn't find a job, so she asked me to help her get into the Nicholas group, and there's nothing between us, believe me." "Okay? Besides, I have a wife now. Don't be stupid. Do you have so little faith in your husband?" I chose to trust Nicholas. I believed in our 3-year relationship. Nicholas and I met because of an accident. That day, I passed an intersection and saw Nicholas frowning, looking down at his phone, with a large truck approaching. I instinctively pushed him away. I didn't expect the driver to slam the brakes, causing the truck to tip over and crush me underneath. Later, I was sent to the hospital. 6 months later, Nicholas confessed to me, blushing. I anxiously rejected him, and after seeing him leave, I cried under the covers. To my surprise, Nicholas hugged me tightly, saying, "You idiot." After our wedding, he truly spoiled me, but I was overly cautious, adding to the sensitivity of Emma's position. I regretted arguing with Nicholas during that time, so when I received Sophia's message, I didn't hesitate. I had the driver take me to the venue Sophia mentioned. When I arrived outside the private room, the door was slightly ajar. I saw Nicholas in a white shirt, looking weary as he poured drink after drink, clearly already drunk. A man beside him patted Nicholas on the shoulder. He was Nicholas's friend. "What's wrong? Did you argue with your wife?" Nicholas frowned but didn't speak. "Actually, I'm quite curious. What does it feel like to be married to a disabled person?" Nicholas's eyes held a trace of disdain as he coldly replied, "It feels like holding a black garbage bag that you can never get rid of." I stayed where I was. Watching Nicholas continue to drink, a surge of pain welled up in my heart. I couldn't help but cry, desperately trying to hold back the tears. Tears streamed down my face. Sophia clearly saw the scene and maliciously smirked. I knew she had intentionally let me hear those words. I lowered my eyes, my fingers instinctively brushing the wedding ring Nicholas had designed for me on my ring finger. The next moment, my wheelchair was knocked over, and a woman in a silver spaghetti strap stood before me, panicking. The loud crash attracted everyone's attention. The wheelchair fell against the wall, its black wheels still spinning, and I had fallen to the ground. The thin blanket covering my leg slipped off, revealing emptiness beneath my skirt. A few girls gasped in shock. The woman who knocked me down was Nicholas's legendary first love and his new secretary, Emma. "Are you okay?" She instinctively reached to help me up but failed. The hem of her knee-length skirt rose slightly, exposing the ugly scar on her knee. Emma stepped back in fear, hiding behind Nicholas. I looked at those familiar high-end leather shoes, instinctively not wanting Nicholas to see my current pitiful state huddled on the floor. I felt helpless. Nicholas frowned. "What are you doing here? I didn't bring you to the banquet, so you want to show off your identity as Mrs. Nicholas here." I felt a pain in my heart, holding back the tears. I lifted my head. "Can you go back tomorrow morning?" Nicholas paused slightly, then his expression turned slightly angry. "Emily, do you really have to be this cheap? Isn't it just knowing that Emma is coming? I've already married you. Don't worry. As long as you're alive, your position as Mrs. Nicholas won't change. Is that okay?" Disdainful gazes fell on me from around. I trembled, stubbornly raising my face once again to confirm with him. "So, can you go back tomorrow morning?" I just wanted to tell him that we shouldn't argue anymore because I only had 8 months to live. He laughed in anger. "Fine, I promise you, but this is the last time. Don't leave the villa without my permission." In the future, I nodded, not daring to look at the expressions of others, and silently propped myself back into the wheelchair. Nicholas frowned and reached out to lift me onto the wheelchair. "Since you know it's embarrassing, don't show off next time," but he didn't come back. I glanced at Emma's latest post on social media. In the photo, a man in a suit stood in front of a jewelry counter, smiling. It seemed like it had been a long time since I had seen Nicholas smile so gently. Ironically, his smile wasn't directed at me. In the corner of the photo was a large pink diamond ring on a woman's finger. The caption read, "My boss is generous." I covered my face and completely broke down. Nicholas's call came in at that moment. "Sweetheart, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have—" "No need to apologize," I interrupted. Sensing the coldness in my tone, he paused, then chuckled sarcastically. "Of course, all you care about is your identity as Mrs. Nicholas." With that, he hung up the phone. I remained silent for a long time, ignoring Nicholas's change in attitude towards me. Finally, I tossed the ultrasound report into the trash. The next day, I received an invitation. It was for Alexander's 80th anniversary banquet. I hesitated but saw a message from Emma. "Nicholas is drunk. Can you take him home?" I felt a pang of urgency. I also wanted to talk to Nicholas about our conflicts, so I decided to go to the banquet. In the small garden at the back, I followed the address, braving the scrutinizing gazes of the crowd, and arrived at the small garden Emma mentioned. As I approached, I saw a slightly flushed Emma intimately wrapping her arms around Nicholas's neck. He frowned, trying to push Emma away, but to my shock, after glancing at me, Emma stood on her tiptoes and kissed Nicholas on the lips. Nicholas frowned and quickly pushed Emma away, but his hand still rested on her shoulder to prevent her from falling. Seeing me, Nicholas clearly froze for a moment and instinctively stepped forward. Watching his flustered expression, feeling the chill on my cheeks, I reached out, my fingertips soaked in tears. Seeing Nicholas's hand on Emma's shoulder and recalling the earlier scene, I turned around without hesitation and left. Nicholas, not knowing what to think, pursed his lips and handed Emma off to a passing waiter, then hurried after me. "Emily, let me explain." I glanced at him indifferently, my tone calm. "Sure, go ahead and explain." Nicholas looked at my demeanor, a hint of panic flashing in his eyes, but he still explained, "She was drunk, that's why. Do you trust me?" I looked at his cautious expression. It seemed to remind me of 3 years ago when 22-year-old Nicholas cautiously asked me, "Emily, would you be my girlfriend?" But this time, I didn't respond. After returning to the villa, Nicholas irritably ran his fingers through his tousled hair, seemingly unsure of what to do. I quietly watched him, my fingers resting on my abdomen. "Nicholas!" Before I could finish, Nicholas's phone rang. Emma's pitiful voice came through. "Nicholas, guess where I am? I'm on the rooftop." Nicholas's expression changed. "Where are you? Is there no one taking care of you?" "I'm on the hotel rooftop." Nicholas stood up. "Emily, can you wait for me to come back and explain? Can you go upstairs and rest? I'll be back soon." I forced a bitter smile looking up at him. "What if I don't agree with you going?" Nicholas frowned. "Emily, stop messing around. She's drunk on the rooftop. It's dangerous. After all, she's an employee of the Nicholas Group." With that, he stepped quickly into the car. I followed in my wheelchair. "Nicholas, this is your last chance. I have something too." I hurriedly maneuvered my wheelchair, but forgot about the steps at the entrance. The car sped away, and I fell to the ground, the wheelchair pinning me underneath. But Grace had already left. I struggled for a bit, only to find that my body couldn't push the wheelchair off me. At that moment, light rain began to fall. I remembered the message Emma had sent earlier and let out a bitter laugh. "He will come back to be with me." I picked up my phone that had fallen to the side and replied, "You win. I don't want it anymore." There was only Nicholas's number in my contacts, and for a moment, I didn't know what to do. I could only lie on the ground, letting the early autumn rain pour down on my face. All the conflicts and arguments with Nicholas halted at that moment. It no longer mattered. So I didn't care until the next morning, when I heard Grace's startled exclamations. I told her not to tell Nicholas about this. I turned and left the villa. Around noon, Nicholas sent me a message. He clearly said he would be back soon. I scoffed and turned off my phone. It wasn't until after 11 p.m. that I returned to the villa. Grace anxiously pushed me inside. "Mr. Nicholas couldn't find you. After he came back, he just went out to look for you again." I nodded and then sat at the dining table. After only 2 bites, I started to gag violently. The phone rang. It was Nicholas. "Emily, where are you? Why are you only answering the phone now?" "I'm in the villa." "Good girl, I'll be back soon." Nicholas hurriedly got out of the car, and upon seeing me, he seemed to relax. He stepped forward carefully and pulled me into his embrace. "I've been looking for you for a long time. Will you forgive me? Let's not argue anymore, okay? I won't hold a grudge against you anymore. Emma brought that driver and told me you were marrying me because—" He didn't finish his sentence. Perhaps feeling embarrassed, I knew Nicholas loved me, but I couldn't accept how much he didn't trust me and how he kept abandoning me time after time. "Yesterday, after Grandma got drunk, she fell off the wall of the rooftop. I took her to the hospital and rushed back. I won't see her again in the future. Sister, can you forgive me?" I am a year older than Nicholas, and for the past 3 years, whenever he made a mistake, he would call me sister to plead for mercy. I would always choose to forgive him. I even thought that his demeanor was vastly different from the authoritative image. He projected outside, and I laughed at him for it, but suddenly I felt a bit tired. "So, Nicholas, why not just ask me directly? Why believe others? Why, time and time again, abandon me when I needed you the most?" I nodded, responding under his expectant gaze. "Okay." Nicholas joyfully embraced me as if he had found a treasured possession. Again, it felt like we had returned to the time before Emma went back home. But he didn't know that this morning I went to the hospital alone. The little nurse saw me by myself and angrily asked why no family was with me. I told her I had no family, but I still cried on the operating table. After all, I'm only in my 20s. After looking at my medical records, the little nurse also hugged me and cried uncontrollably. When the female doctor saw this scene, She shook her head helplessly, finished dealing with everything, and advised me to remember to rest after I returned home. Don't fall into postpartum illness, but should no longer be afraid. The kindness of strangers seemed to shatter my heart. I lay in the cemetery, holding the brand new little gravestone, and cried all afternoon. I rejected Nicholas's calls. Nicholas seemed to have forgotten how much he hated my legs. He forgot the words he once said. He started taking me to various banquets, generously introducing me as, "This is my wife." His gaze towards me was filled with warmth. Others praised Nicholas's deep affection, while curiously or disdainfully looking at me sitting in the wheelchair. He even frequently brought me back to the old house. Sophia became increasingly agitated after seeing me a few times. Finally, after seeing Nicholas carefully remove a fishbone from my throat, she couldn't help but throw her chopsticks down. "Enough, brother. You've done enough. Is bringing her here just to disgust me?" Nicholas's face darkened as he instinctively glanced at my expression. I sipped my juice, maintaining my usual demeanor. It seemed I didn't care about the humiliation brought by Sophia. A hint of confusion flashed in Nicholas's eyes, not understanding how I could remain so calm. In the past, I might have awkwardly held his hand wanting to leave, but now I no longer feared losing everything because I had already lost it all. Nicholas frowned coldly, looking at the furious Sophia. "She is your sister-in-law." Sophia laughed. "Who wants this as my sister-in-law? If you don't recognize her, then you can forget about that card of mine. Since you don't welcome her, I won't come back either." "Sophia, you should understand by now." With that, Nicholas picked me up and left the old house. I sat in the car, looking out the window, a bit regretful that I hadn't finished that glass of orange juice. Nicholas looked at me apologetically. "I'm sorry, Emily. I didn't know Sophia would—" I interrupted him. "You don't need to apologize, I don't mind." To make Nicholas believe I was truly not angry, I deliberately smiled at him. A hint of panic flashed in his eyes. "Emily, can you hit me? Don't act like this. I feel like you don't care about me anymore." I blinked and touched the little ball on my hat. "Why would I hit you? Hitting you isn't enough, Nicholas. But it is true, as you said, I really don't care about you anymore." The bigger my smile, the more panicked Nicholas became. After getting home, he pinned me against the sofa and kissed me. I immediately pushed him away and started gagging. Seeing his pale face, I awkwardly smiled. "Sorry, I feel a bit nauseous." It was a double entendre. Nicholas didn't attempt to kiss me again. He just held me tightly. "After I finished washing up, Emily, you haven't said you love me in a long time. Can you tell me you love me?" He looked at me with expectation. I didn't respond, closing my eyes and pretending to doze off. After a long while, he buried his head in my neck. "Emily, I was wrong. I was wrong, okay? I beg you, don't torture me like this anymore." In the next moment, I felt a warm wetness on my neck. Strangely, seeing Nicholas like this didn't touch my heart at all. This was the first time I had seen him cry and break down, but what can I do? "Nicholas, it seems that I really feel nothing inside anymore." Nicholas didn't seem to give up. In the middle of the night, I saw him post online how to seek forgiveness from my wife after doing something wrong. Below were replies from Nissan. He carefully took screenshots of each one, recording them in his notes. The next evening, he took me shopping at the mall, and afterward, he took me to a nearby cinema. After leaving the cinema, Nicholas saw me shiver slightly and draped his coat over my shoulders. But then I saw Emma across the street, her eyes filled with tears. She rushed over and shouted at me, "Why? Why are you still holding on to him? Have you forgotten about the dinner party?" Then she turned to Nicholas and said, "Are you really going to abandon me for a... Why did you blacklist me in City A and make it impossible for me to stay?" Nicholas frowned and pushed Emma away. "You should have thought about this when you were stirring up trouble between Emily and me, and about what happened at Alexander's dinner party. Don't bring it up again." With tears in her eyes, Emma appeared pitiful, but when she saw the cold indifference on Nicholas's face and the disgust that didn't hide in his eyes when he spoke of that night, she froze. My gaze drifted to the roasted chestnuts across from the cinema, thinking I would go over there once their argument ended. But unexpectedly, Emma pointed at me and laughed. "You don't really think she'll forgive you, do you? The night I sent you a message, she spent the whole night in the rain for you. Really love her, Nicholas. Are you blind? She can't even push her own wheelchair. Taking care of herself is a problem. Nicholas, tell me, where did I go wrong?" Nicholas turned pale. He turned to look at me. "Why didn't you tell me you spent the whole night in the rain?" "Why?" "Because it doesn't matter. What's there to say?" Nicholas looked at me, his eyes threatened. "How can it not matter?" I shrugged and yawned, realizing I wouldn't get to eat those chestnuts. "I'm a bit tired. Let's head back." "We've walked enough, Nicholas." Nicholas tightened his grip on my hand and led me to the car. Once we got back to the villa, Nicholas held me and repeatedly said he was sorry. I was annoyed by the noise but couldn't bring myself to say the 3 words, "It's okay," in the middle of the night. With red-rimmed eyes, Nicholas harshly gripped my chin, tears still glistening on his cheeks. "Emily, where's your heart? Where's your heart?" Panic filled his eyes. "Why don't you love me anymore?" I was groggy, awakened, and felt a surge of anger. I slapped him hard across the face. "Can you not make a fuss? It's time to sleep." I then turned over and closed my eyes again. I could hear slight tremors and sobs behind me. I just felt bored and irritated. There weren't many days left, and I didn't want to entangle myself with Nicholas any longer. Let's just end it here. After all, my life shouldn't continue to be wasted. The next day, I noticed a strand of long hair on my pillow and frowned. Is my hair already starting to fall out so soon? Luckily, I still have plenty of hair. After tossing the hair into the trash can, Nicholas, who had been downstairs, burst through the door angrily. He gripped my chin, forcing me to face him. "Why?" His eyes were bloodshot with a hint of red veins. The veins on his temples and the back of his hand were slightly bulging. "Why that child? Why didn't you tell me? Why don't you want her? If Sophia hadn't seen you go to the hospital that day, would I have never known?" I understood the implications and figured out what Sophia had said, but I didn't explain. "What do you think? Don't you know?" Looking into my indifferent eyes, Nicholas painfully released me and took 2 steps back. He then crouched down and held his head. "Why? You clearly know that we—" I immediately interrupted him. I know. We once envisioned her arrival. We had fantasized countless times about the child's coming." After hearing my words, Nicholas stared at me intensely. His eyes clouded with sadness and anger. With a cold expression, he slammed the door shut. The loud bang startled Emma, who immediately screamed and puffed up her fur. I hurried over to hug her and calm her down. Emma was a cat I had rescued a year ago. Cats are better than people. At least they trust you unconditionally. Nicholas still returned home every day. He often drank himself into a stupor, but I no longer tidied up everything for him like I used to, allowing him to lie on the sofa as he pleased. It felt as if Nicholas and I had fallen into a deep freeze. I didn't want to get entangled with Nicholas, but I also felt a bit lost. Until a few days later, I accidentally opened my email and saw an invitation from Sydney dated 3 years ago. Early in the morning, I saw Nicholas sitting in front of the sofa, looking at me with a mix of grievance and conflict. I stepped forward and handed him the divorce agreement. "Let's get a divorce, Nicholas." Nicholas laughed in anger, gripping the divorce agreement tightly. "You want a divorce? Impossible. Emily, stop messing around." I bit my straw and blinked. "No way. I want a divorce. I like clean men." Upon hearing this, a thin line of anger appeared on Nicholas's face as he threw the divorce agreement into the trash can. "I still have many copies," I reminded him, but Nicholas no longer looked at me. He picked up the coat behind the sofa and stood up to leave. I felt anxious and wanted to go abroad, not wanting to entangle with him any longer. I followed him outside the villa. "Nicholas, I have to go." Nicholas looked at me, laughing in anger. "Sure, go ahead. After all, you don't want anything, do you? Not the child, not me. Since that's the case, you can leave everything behind. As for the divorce, don't even think about it." With that, he stormed off to the car. His assistant noticed Nicholas was sulking with me and was about to smooth things over when Nicholas stopped him. "Go to the office, don't mind her." Once he got into the car, I immediately took out my phone, bought a ticket to Sydney, and then returned to my room to pack my bags. I didn't take any of the things Nicholas had given me. Before leaving, I sent Nicholas one last message. "I've gone abroad. Remember to sign the divorce papers and please take good care of Emma." I didn't want Emma to witness my passing, so I didn't bring her along. I gave Grace some money, asking her to take Emma home if Nicholas didn't want her anymore. Although Emma and Nicholas were enemies, they had once gotten along quite well. It would be even better if he was willing to take care of her. At the airport, I saw Lily, the little nurse who had cried loudly during my miscarriage at the hospital. After that, we kept in touch, and when I found out she was unemployed, I asked if she wanted to accompany me to Sydney. She had seen my medical records and knew my condition, so she readily agreed. Taking one last look at CA, I waved goodbye as I headed outside the airport. This time, I was really going to Sydney. Then, without looking back, I left with Lily. The moment I got off the plane, I felt a sense of freedom. "Goodbye, Nicholas." Lily and I spent a few days exploring Sydney before deciding to rent a small house near a farm. I had a wonderful time there. However, the money I brought wasn't enough for me to live on. So, Lily and I set up a small stall at a street corner, which turned out to be quite successful. Lily was curious about my past, and I openly shared it with her. During this time, I received daily calls and messages from Nicholas. I could only block him. Then I saw a message from Emma. Guess what Nicholas and I did that night? Seeing this, Lily became furious and scolded Emma for being shameless. I handed her a box of ice cream to calm her down. To my surprise, Nicholas somehow got Lily's contact information and messaged her, asking for my address. He even promised her 70 million if she told him where I was. I took Lily's phone, looking at her with disdain, and replied to Nicholas. "Emily is dead." Nicholas was furious and cursed, but afterward, he never contacted Lily again. My health continued to decline, and I lost all my hair. After I vomited blood again, Lily took me to the hospital. Lying in the hospital, staring at the cold ceiling, I finally cried out loud. I was scared, of course, but when I lost consciousness, that suffocating fear disappeared in an instant. As I looked up at the ceiling, which was becoming blurry, I thought, "Nicholas, I don't want to see you in my next life." When Nicholas heard the busy tone from Emily's phone again, he realized he had been blocked. He recalled Emily's last message to him and felt a mix of anger and amusement. She had arranged everything, even Emma, but hadn't left him a single word. Even after he investigated Emily's address and found out she was taking a break in a small town with someone taking care of her, he couldn't help but feel anxious. Did she really not want to come back? Did she really not want him anymore? That couldn't be true. Emily loved him. Nicholas knew that he didn't sign the divorce papers. He treated this month as if Emily were just on a break. He was working tirelessly to resolve things, including with Emma, hoping to bring Emily back home as soon as possible. After receiving an invitation for a donation from Cedia University, he agreed and went to the board meeting with his assistant. Nicholas instructed the assistant to stay and handle the donation matters while he walked out alone, wandering around Cedia University. His mind kept wandering, imagining what would happen when Emily first came to Cedia. She was so beautiful. Surely many boys would pursue her, right? The thought stirred a twinge of jealousy in him. When he came back to reality, he found himself standing in front of the outstanding students display. Even after graduating several years ago, his photo was still at the top. He saw many familiar and unfamiliar faces, but beneath his name was Emily's photo, a 20-year-old girl with a radiant smile, her beauty stunning. Although he knew Emily was also from Cydia University, he hadn't seen her since he helped her take a leave of absence. Seeing that photo filled him with joy, but also anger at how easily Emily had left. He couldn't help but glance at the description next to the photo. Emily, a national genius dancer at 16, creator of the Chinese dance The Green, won a provincial gold medal in dance at 18. Nicholas turned pale. Emily had never told him she was a dance major. His fingers trembled as he remembered Emily's carefulness over the past 3 years and how she had often watched dance videos. He had thought she was just an admirer, and during their recent argument, he had said to her, "Stop watching. No matter how much you watch, you can't dance." But for some reason, he had fled. Once back at the villa, he inexplicably opened the small drawer of Emily's vanity and found the divorce papers inside. Angry, he tossed the papers aside. But another piece of paper fell out before him. A medical report, a cancer diagnosis notification. He could hardly stand, staring at the diagnosis. Emily only had 8 months to live. That meant there were less than 2 months left. He glanced at the report date, quickly grabbed his phone, and rushed out. After getting off the plane, Nicholas hurriedly stepped into a car. He couldn't help but turn back and urge his assistant to go faster. The assistant nodded and jumped into the passenger seat. The car drove out of the city and reached a small town. Nicholas knocked on the door of the address he had investigated. Nervously, he looked at the exotic wooden door while his mind raced with words. No matter what, he had to bring Emily back for treatment. He wanted to tell her that he would always be by her side. He also wanted to tell her that Emma had been blacklisted and had returned home to marry an old man from the county who was abusive. He wanted to tell Emily that Emma had paid the price. He wanted to tell Emily that he loved her, that he was wrong, that he shouldn't have held a grudge against her, that he shouldn't have let her leave. He wanted her to come back, even if it meant she could hit him or yell at him. Even though he had already called the hospital director on the plane to confirm her condition, he couldn't accept it yet. Inexplicably, he just wanted to see her right away. He felt like he was being suffocated by panic. He needed to see Emily right now. Hearing footsteps approaching the door, Nicholas nervously adjusted his slightly messy coat and tie. His assistant had never seen him like this before. When the door opened, it wasn't Emily standing there. Could he have gotten the wrong address? Nicholas frowned. Before he could speak, Lily, dressed all in white, addressed him first. "I know who you are. Emily's lousy ex-husband. No need to ask. Emily lived here before she passed." A flash of anger appeared in Nicholas's eyes, and he was about to speak when he noticed the wooden box in Lily's hand. A wave of overwhelming fear washed over him. His face turned ashen, his lips trembled, and he asked tentatively, "What is that?" He stared at the small wooden box, unable to look away. Lily, seeing his pale face, felt a hint of satisfaction. She sneered, "You've already guessed, haven't you? This is Emily. Emily, can you see this? He's in pain, isn't he? But I know you probably don't care anymore. Next life, don't save him again. Live your own life." Nicholas nearly collapsed, clutching the intricately carved door handle, his knuckles white. "No, it can't be." Lily raised an eyebrow. "Why not? You knew about her illness, didn't you? She might have lasted a bit longer, but after the miscarriage, her health deteriorated faster than the doctors had predicted." Nicholas, in a fit of desperation, shouted wildly, his former composure completely shattered. "No, you're lying to me. Emily's just angry. Emily, I'm sorry. Please don't scare me." Lily scoffed, as if she had expected this reaction. She took out a death certificate. Nicholas's hand shook so hard he could barely hold the thin paper. After reading it, he clenched the certificate tightly, but stiffly reached out to take the small wooden box from Lily's hands. "Emily, can I take you home?" he whispered. Lily didn't stop him. Instead, she handed him a piece of paper with an address on it. Her eyes shining, she said she wanted to go be with that child. With tears in his eyes, Nicholas stared at Emily's familiar handwriting. He cradled the box gently as he left, his steps slow, as if he might collapse at any moment. Back in his home country, Nicholas followed the address Emily had left him. There, he found a small grave beside the one meant for her. The gravestone read simply, "Here lies the daughter of Emily." Nicholas knelt in front of the tombstone, covering his face as he sobbed. His assistant watched from behind, unable to imagine the strength it had taken for this young woman to arrange everything herself. He knew Nicholas might never recover, so he stayed silent. Night began to fall, and after arranging everything for Emily's resting place, as she had wished, Nicholas could only sit by her grave, holding her picture and staring at her radiant smile. His assistant was about to step forward when Nicholas stood, his voice hoarse and drained of any emotion. "Let's go home." Late at night, Nicholas sat alone in the darkened study of his villa. Moonlight fell on the black leather chair where he sat, gripping a woman's wedding ring tightly in his hand. The small diamonds around the ring cut into his palm, and blood dripped onto the carpet. He stared at the pink leather-bound diary on his desk. Though his hand shook, he dared not open it. He remembered how Emily had a habit of journaling. This small pink book was something he once teasingly tried to peek at while she wrote. She had chased him away, locking the door behind her. Now he could not accept that she was gone. She was only 26, so full of life. Finally, after some time, he turned on the desk lamp, carefully wiping the blood from his hand, not wanting to stain her diary. He placed the ring back into its velvet box, then opened the diary. His eyes instantly filled with tears as he read, February 14th. "I got an invitation to Sydney. I'm so excited. Mum said she's going to buy me a watch as a reward." February 15th. "Mum and Dad died in a car accident on their way to get my gift. I have no family left. The police said a child had run into the road, and my dad turned the wheel suddenly to avoid him, but no one could save them in time." April the 2nd. "I'll take my parents' hopes with me and head to Sydney alone." May 27th. "Tomorrow's the day of the competition abroad. Training was so tough, but I hope I can perform well." June 5th. "I didn't go to the competition in Sydney. I was injured while saving someone. I'm crippled. The senior I saved comes by to take care of me every day. I told him I don't want to be a burden." July 30th. "He confessed to me, but I turned him down. It hurt, though." August 1st. "He confessed again. He said he wouldn't give up and would ask me every day until I agreed. I rejected him again, but after he left, I couldn't help crying. He came back, lifted the blanket, and teased me, calling me a little crybaby. Could we try? December 30th. "We got married. Some people say Nicholas only married me out of duty because I saved him, but when I asked him, he said he loves me." January 15th. "Nicholas takes such good care of me, even though I'm older by a year. He treats me like a child, as if determined to spoil me. But though he loves me, he doesn't understand where my soul belongs. I feel trapped in the villa, watching dancers on the screen, crying. The house is so big and cold. I'm terrified he'll leave me." May 1st. I saw Emma's social media. She came back to work as Nicholas's assistant. I'm scared, but he reassures me again and again. Yet I've become so paranoid, I can't help it. June 3rd. He said, "Don't forget you're disabled." I don't understand. I only saw the intimate photos of him and Emma at a banquet, and it made me anxious. When I showed him the photo, he impatiently said I was overthinking. What am I? Just afraid I won't get to be some wealthy lady? I couldn't understand why he was so agitated. June 15th. I overheard him say it himself. It's like carrying a black plastic bag that you can't throw away. So that's how he feels. Then Nicholas, why don't we get a divorce? Beyond that, the pages were blank. Each word in her diary pierced Nicholas's heart. Every corner of this large villa was marked with Emily's presence, but she was gone. Nicholas locked up the villa. No one knew what he did inside. A few days later, a scruffy man with stubble and a strong smell of alcohol finally walked out. It was as if he'd forgotten Emily. He drove back to Nicholas Group, coldly focusing on work, and everyone else let out a sigh of relief. Back at the office, after signing a few contracts, Nicholas noticed an investment application on his desk, funding for producing a specialized anti-cancer drug. The drug had been successfully developed, but substantial funding was required for the next steps. The lab chose Nicholas Group for its financial resources capable of supporting the project. Although it was still in testing, obtaining a sample wouldn't be impossible. Nicholas froze as he stared at the document, sitting blankly at his desk. If only Emily hadn't gone to Sydney. If only he had taken better care of her. Could she have lived to see this drug's success? If that day he'd stayed with her. But there's no if. Nicholas leaned back in his chair, smiling bitterly. Tears traced his jawline, falling to his chin. I thought you wouldn't leave. After all, he'd known how deeply Emily loved him. Despite all the misunderstandings between them, he believed she would stay. Over those 3 years, no matter what he did wrong, Emily would forgive him. Even when he kicked out their cat, Suzu, in a fit of rage over a scratch, Emily forgave him after he pleaded with her pitifully. Hearing him from the doorway, the assistant didn't know what to say, but she believed he'd stay that day, standing by the car door. I had clearly seen the final glimmer of struggle in Emily's eyes. This was the first time Nicholas and Emily had a real fight, and it was the last. 3 years later, at the cemetery, the man dressed in a black suit held a bouquet of vibrant pink roses, standing in stark contrast under his black umbrella. His polished shoes trudged through the rain. He stopped before the gravestone, his voice hoarse. Emily, I came to see you. Nicholas appeared thinner than 3 years ago, with a calmer, more composed demeanor. His former arrogance had vanished. His jawline was sharper, dark hair slightly covering his forehead. Looking at the young girl's sweet smile in the photo, he pressed his lips tightly together. Your good friend Lily got married yesterday. It was her wedding, and I sent a gift in your name. Sue, our cat, looks like it won't make it. After you left, it refused to eat or drink for a while. Grace had to let it smell something of yours just to make it eat. Emily, I wish I could join you. When Nicholas returned to the villa, he saw Grace tearfully holding Suzu, who had peacefully closed its eyes. He reached out to scratch Suzu's neck, only to find that it no longer resisted as it used to. Aside from Emily, the stubborn cat never allowed anyone to scratch its neck without hissing back. Back then, he had been so angry that he wanted to throw Suzu out, only for Emily to hold Suzu in her arms, smiling and saying, Sue is mine, just like I am yours. For a month, after Nicholas sparred daily with the chubby cat, Emily finally said she was his too. Only then did he relent. Suzu, sensing his hostility, would deliberately scratch his suit and leave fur all over his clothes. But now it lay still. Nicholas stroked Suzu's nose. Go find her. You must miss her a lot. Bury her next to Emily, he said. Grace nodded and carried Suzu away. Nicholas was awakened by pain. For 3 years, he had numbed himself with work to avoid the agony of losing Emily. Sitting up, he took stomach medicine from the cabinet and noticed a box of yellow tablets beside it. It was folic acid. Nicholas froze, staring at the small box in his hand. Emily must have wanted to keep the baby. Otherwise, she wouldn't have taken it. As head of a pharmaceutical company, he knew the purpose of these common medicines well. Nicholas, as if struck by a sudden realization, rushed to the study and opened her diary, flipping through each blank page, finally stopping at the last one. Emily's delicate handwriting came into view. August 12th. The doctor says you're here. Though Nick hurts me, I won't blame you for his mistakes in the short time I have left. Knowing you're here fills me with joy. Even if he doesn't love me, I'm certain he'll love you. Fortunately, though, I only have about 8 months left. It's enough to bring you into this world, my 12-week-old baby. Will you look forward to this world, even though in this world there's no mother? August 14th. Maybe I was wrong. If no one will love you, then what a pity it would be to bring you here. I'm sorry. Nicholas remembered that August 13th was Alexander Corporation's 80th anniversary celebration, and also the day Emma got drunk. What did he do that day? He supported a drunken Emma. Caught off guard, she kissed him on the lips, and across the way, he saw Emily's tear-streaked face. Recalling this, Nicholas knelt in anguish, covering his face with trembling hands, tears streaming between his fingers. He couldn't imagine the heartache and disappointment Emily felt at that moment, disappointed enough to give up the child she once welcomed with all her heart. Cancer-stricken Emily had somehow gone to the hospital alone, making the choice to let go of the baby. She must have regretted it, regretted saving him, regretted loving him. The tall man's frame shook, emitting the raw cry of a wounded animal. A moment later, his heart gave out, and he collapsed to the floor, cold sweat covering his brow. His thin, tall figure curled slightly. No one found him until he lost consciousness completely. Unable to reach Nicholas, his assistant drove to the villa, only to find him lying on the floor of the study, cold and lifeless. The corners of his lips still held a look of relief. Epilogue. Nicholas hadn't expected that he would be reborn to the day he first met Emily. The young girl, in a white sundress, delicate and beautiful, effortlessly drawing everyone's attention. Her slender, fair legs were exposed, and she wore white sneakers. When she saw him, she stopped in her tracks. Just then, a large truck hurtled towards Nicholas. Just like in his previous life, he noticed the girl clutch her book tightly, standing frozen in place. Nicholas couldn't move out of the way in time. This time, Emily didn't push him aside. Lying in the hospital bed, Nicholas felt the intense pain in his legs and smiled. So, his Emily had been reborn too. His chance at redemption had already been lost. Years later, Emily stood on an international stage, holding a trophy in her hand, having stepped beyond the borders of their country. As for him, due to his disability, he remained in City A. The day Emily left, he stood outside the airport, watching her straight-backed figure, and wept. After a long while, Nicholas closed the car window. Letting go, the black Maybach slowly left the airport, and the neon lights of the evening cast their glow on Nicholas's face through the window.